Say you have a great idea for a short film, but you don't think you have the content or the access you need in order to make it happen. This is something filmmakers face all the time. Feature, short, doc, there are plenty of reasons to get discouraged and feel like you're not ready or not in the right position to make your movie. Maybe you have an idea for a film you want to make overseas, but you can't afford the travel. Maybe you want to make a documentary about a family member or an old friend who just doesn't have any old movies or photos. Maybe, like a lot of people these days, you just feel like you don't have nice enough equipment. You want to get these beautiful cinematic shots, and all you have is your phone camera. I am of the opinion that there is almost no good reason to wait and make your film if you think you have a good idea, and I'm going to show you why and how you can do it. For example, and the inspiration for this little series, I'm working on a short film about my top surgery. I had it when I was 16 years old, and frankly, I did not take as much video as I should have in order to profit from it in the future. I had a lot to learn about filmmaking at that point in my life, and all I really have right now is stuff like this. So there isn't a huge difference. But I really wanted to make this film about my top surgery, about the day of specifically. And what I came up with was something like this. He takes out a Sharpie, like a permanent marker, and starts just drawing on my chest. For some parts I utilized animation, and for others I used videos of other trans guys having their top surgery, because watching those videos online were such a huge inspiration for me when I was younger. They're really a central part of the story. It makes this one-day experience for me feel like something bigger. Honestly, I think the stylistic route I decided to take because of my limitations made it a way better film than it would have been if I just had a plethora of video from my actual top surgery. It instills it with more meaning, more layers. First thing you're going to need to do is really define your story and your style. I know I talk about this a lot on this channel, but it comes down to journaling, talking, writing out your thoughts, deciding what are the main themes and motifs present. Is this a linear story? Do you need to find alternatives to archival footage? Is it something more reflexive and poetic? And by that extent, can you use something a little bit more abstract? When you're writing down ideas, try not to think about shots. Think about things like colors, themes, images, symbols. I'm saying go as simple as I want there to be a lot of blues or a lot of water. I want to return to a theme of, a light bulb turning on, and that's going to symbolize this big point in my story. Stuff like that. Don't worry about how you're going to capture it. Right now, just worry about what it is, what it stands for, and how it's going to make this feel like a whole cohesive piece. Once you have your layout of ideas, I recommend trying to select 2 or 3 key elements that you think are your best ideas and sticking with those. Having any more, unless you do it right or it works for your project, can oftentimes make a film feel too cluttered, confusing, and unfocused. It's hard for the audience to really grasp what you're trying to say. A great example is a film that came out very recently called My Dead Dad's Porno Tapes, where the filmmaker uses some archival footage, but not a lot, some location shots, and then these really cool stop-motion montages of what we can assume are his dad's things floating about the screen. Of course, it looks beautiful and super cool, but at its core, it's a very simple concept, and it stands for something. It's not just there because it's pretty or interesting. These objects symbolize the filmmaker's attempt to dig through his dad's old stuff to find meaning, to find answers, to find purpose. It's a really beautiful motif, and one that can be turned to and turned around and morphed to symbolize a whole bunch of different things. Another good example, one that I might return to later, is the film The Stories We Tell. Now, of course, this filmmaker had a lot of resources. There's a lot of parts of this movie that are very professionally done and shot. However, she also uses, in addition to, I believe, some archival shots, a lot of reenactments of old home movies, which seems a little bit weird, but when you consider that the film is about memory and the way memories and stories change over time, including these sort of false family memories, works really well and is a very interesting take on her theme. I really recommend being as open as possible while you're brainstorming, open to new ideas, but there is one limitation to keep in mind. As you are outlining your film, as you're creating these mind maps and lists or journals, however you want to do it, think about where your movie's going to go. Do you want to upload it to YouTube? Do you want to put it to film fests? And depending on your answer, remember how copyright is going to factor into those things. I made that mistake with the film I'm working on right now, where I definitely have not asked for rights to any of this footage. I just edited away. And that means if I decide to submit it to film festivals, I will absolutely need to go to the original creators and ask for their permission to use their footage. But I also went into this project with that knowledge. I knew that was a risk I was taking. I honestly kind of just want to put it out onto YouTube anyway. But if copyright is a concern for you, I do have links down below to some royalty-free websites where you can get some old archival stuff that you won't have to worry about. And of course, always keep in mind animation, abstract footage, things that you can capture yourself that don't require a really big camera or an expensive set and crew. At the end of the day, the most important part is that whatever stylistic elements you're choosing, whatever sources you're pulling from, whatever images you're capturing, they need to connect to the core theme of your film. So the more you're decided about that, the more you're sure about what that is, the better your project is going to be. Once you've picked the style you're going for and articulated it, it's time to start collecting any media you might need. And I'm going to get to that in part 2, along with how to outline those images. Thanks for watching. I'm Connor O'Keefe. I'm super fucking queer. I love making art and film, and I like talking about self-betterment and how to be freaking happy. If any of those things are of interest to you, please consider hitting subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.